Flip the coin. Where are you going to go?
Oh, it's a slam dunk. I mean, it's not even close. Put another globe up there.
You give us a selection. Who is it?
I'm going to go with Conduit. I'm going to go with
returning
Conduit.
champ. Okay,
Yep.
so it's back-to-back for Conduit in the turf. All right, we're going to talk Philly in Mare Turf. The U.S. actually has a returning champ coming back in this one. And Forever Together, we will talk about that race and many more. We got to speed it up here. We're zipping through this thing. We'll be back. Contact us on the community websites, community.tvg.com. And Simon, it's bringing the horse racing world together.
It certainly is, and an important time right now with just over a week left to the Breeders' Cup, the World Championships. We want all your thoughts and opinions. Go to community.tvg.com.
All right, look forward to hearing from you there, and it is free to sign up and get started and make your voice heard. So make sure you take advantage of it.
I think we should just recap what the Europeans did last year. Ravens Pass and Henry the Navigator ran 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Conduit and Eagle Mountain ran 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Goldacova won the mile. Donativum and Westphalia ran 1-2 in the Juvenile Turf, and Muhanek won the marathon. And there were even a couple of other races that you thought that they would have won because they were races that were seemingly created for the Europeans, races like the Turf Sprint and the Juvenile Phillies Turf, but they didn't win those races. But they're going to have a powerful hand this year.
If they win the mile, the turf, and the Classic this year, it would be a massive disappointment, right?
Well, they could win the Classic. They could win the Philly and Mare Turf. They could win both Juvenile Turf races. They could win the Marathon with Mastery. They could win the Mile. They could win the Turf. They could win the Turf Sprint.
All right, call it right now. Over, under, how many races are the Europeans going to win on November 6th and 7th?
I can't, Greg. I can't do that. I mean, I haven't even
seen the line for us.
I haven't even seen the pre-entries.
It was 5 last year. Wow.
I'll put it at 6.
See, that wasn't that hard. All right, we thank Mike Watchmaker, and that was last week on Blinkers Off. He's coming up shortly, by the way. Going to be joined by Matt Carruthers. And Breeders' Cup works every day leading up to the Breeders' Cup. It premieres tonight at 5:30 p.m. And Todd, Simon, you're going to be on the show as well. Christina and Tom with all the coverage and a must-see show to have a successful Breeders' Cup.
I think so. With the the bigger card over 2 days now, it's a must-see show. And not only to look at the horses that you're going to include, but maybe horses that you don't want to include. I think this is the way to view the works. All these horses are good. They all work good. They're all top-class performers. But if they haven't shipped well or they're not handling the surface, that's what you can take away from the works and adjust your wages accordingly on Breeders' Cup.
Sounds like you're going to take the over if the line's at 6 for the world, right?
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Breeders' Cup, Philly and Mare Turf, 1.25 miles on the grass. The champ is back, Simon. Forever Together. How does she come into the race, though, this year? Is she as good as she was at this point last year?
It doesn't appear so. I've had the pleasure of watching her in person twice, the last 2 starts. She's got defeated in both of those. One could be the ground was too soft at Keeneland last out. She has mapped, or Jonathan Shepard has mapped out an exact campaign to get her here as he did last year. She's facing Ruth Erin again, who was in the Breeders' Cup last year, and Seeley Hill and Wait a While, who was 2nd and 3rd in the Breeders' Cup last year. None of those return. I think that the American contingent is a little stronger this year than last year, and I don't think she's quite the filly she was 365 days ago.
All right, well, here is a look at Forever Together in the Grade 1 First Lady Stakes. This was at Keeneland on October 10th. Her most recent start. It was a soft turf course. It was at a mile. She was the favorite. She was beat by Diamondrella and Tis a Queen. But what do you think? I mean, is she better going a little bit longer anyway?
She's better going a little bit longer. I mean, Julian Leproux, she was dead last turning for home, Greg, and to only get beaten a length and a half under these conditions is very, very good. What did it take out of her in a strong effort like that on soft turf? You see, only hit her a couple of times. She's just kind of doing everything on her own. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how she handles the Breeders' Cup again with a firmer turf, which she likes, I think. But I think there's a couple of other U.S. horses in here that are a little stronger this year.
Well, as you can see, who's going to line up in this race? The U.S. kind of ganging up on the world in here, who, for the world, it is really just midday in this group. And a tough contingent for the U.S. Magical Fantasy. She's reeled off 4 in a row. She's a 6-time winner. She just won the Grade 1 yellow ribbon. Let's bring in Graham Smith right now. And Graham, talk to us about Midday in here, who is very, very consistent. In a couple of starts back, she beat Rainbow View.
She did indeed. Don't feel bad about ganging up on Midday because she will hold her own in this. She's a much better filly than the fillies Forever Together beat in this last year. I think last time around, Visit was about the strongest of the Europeans. This time, Midday, she's in a completely different league to Visit, and she's had a really good season too. She was beaten only ahead by Sariska in the Oaks at Epsom, which is our version of the Derby. And as you say, she beat Rainbow View 2 1/4 lengths in the Group 1 Nassau Stakes at Goodwood. She was really, really dominant that day. And the interesting thing about her prep for this Breeders' Cup is that she was then freshened up. She had 2.5. She had a couple of months off prior to Lawshaw, which was a prep run. She was only 3rd at Lawshaw in the Prix de l'Opera, and that doesn't read particularly well. But don't concern yourself with that, because Henry Cecil, her trainer, and he's a really, really good trainer, he came out and said he undercooked her for that day. He said, I fancied her, I thought she was right, I got her wrong. He said she wasn't right. She was making a noise afterwards. You'll see a much better filly at Santa Anita. If that's the case, and if she is back to her best, she's time form rated 122. She is very, very good. And I wouldn't feel at all bad about a number of Americans ganging up on her, because I think Midday will be just as strong as any of them, and hopefully that little bit stronger.
Wow, so rave reviews for Midday, Simon. What about one of the other U.S. contingent horses in here? We touched on Magical Fantasy briefly. She could be any sharper, really, coming into this race.
No, I mean, she's won her last 5. I mean, she's had a great 2009. She's won 4 out of 6 starts. Excuse me, she won her last 4 here. Mostly with Alex Solis aboard. He's been the regular pilot for the majority of her starts, and she has that running style where she just sits back and makes one run. She likes the turf course at Santa Anita. She hasn't always got the respect that I think she deserves, because they say she's just beaten the same fillies time and time again, but she's beaten Visit a couple of times, and you know, Visit was in last year's Breeders' Cup, as Graham mentioned. You can see in the yellow ribbon here the key prep leading into this Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, and she won fairly easy. She's a filly, Greg, that is never going to blow away her competition. She'll always win by, you know, a length, half a length ahead. Whatever it takes to get her head in front, that's all the energy she is going to put out. So you never know what's left in the tank. If a horse presses her even more, she'll find a little more. She's like, the analogy I use is she's like riding a bicycle. The harder you pedal, the faster you go. And Alex Solis is a perfect fit for her.
Well, I don't know. After hearing Graham, I think I may have changed my opinion. Midday sounds pretty strong. Flip the coin. Where are you going to go?
Well, there's only one entrant coming from the internationals, and I'm going to line up with Midday. I was an assistant trainer for Henry Cecil through the glory years of Indian Skimmer Elvick, and I heard Graham say he didn't have this one cooked for the Prix de l'Opera. Believe me, he's gone back to the kitchen, turned the oven up. That filly will come in prime and ready to run in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. It's all about Midday in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf.
Yeah, it's a nice little stew brewing right now.